financing and debt management. This is also a slight increase from 2.02 trillion Egyptian pounds recorded during the first 10 months of the year. This comes as Egypt's economy remains resilient despite uneven structural reform efforts and economic spillovers from the escalating regional conflict between the U.S. and Iran. And to get a deep insight into Egypt's economic progress in the past few months, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Khaled, Tahawy, Professor of Accounting. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Yes, so Dr. Khaled, Egypt's government intends to launch a national project or program to reduce living costs and stabilize the markets. How could this can help in facing risks to price stability and availability of basic commodities arising from regional tensions?
This is a very interesting program because it targets one of the major problems that Egypt has been facing, which is high level of inflation. This level of inflation has affected almost everybody at different economic or socioeconomic levels in Egypt. If there is an opportunity to control the level of inflation by controlling the prices, this definitely will help to a great extent helping the different socioeconomic levels of Egyptians to maneuver through these hard times where prices have been increasing in a very high rates that have been affecting their level of living, touching at everybody, whether poor, rich, medium level, everybody has been affected by that. So being able to target this, I think, would be a very useful tool.
So, sir, the initiative aims to expand outlets and the permanent markets nationwide to stabilize commodity prices. How do you weigh the state's efforts to reduce the cost of living for citizens?
I'm sorry, could you say that last part again?
Yes, I'm talking about this initiative which aims at expanding also the outlet and the permanent markets nationwide to stabilize commodity prices. How do you weigh the state's efforts to reduce the cost of living for citizens?
This is a very useful effort because one of the things has been the lack of ability to control prices. And if these outlets are there and prices are comparable between the different outlets, this will be helping control the prices between the different entities and, in a sense, subsidizing a little bit the increase in prices and making these prices stable between the different outlets would make the people at different places in Egypt have to spend the same amount at different for the same products at the different outlets that are the same. So it's a very useful tool to try and stabilize again and the two efforts are really to try and stabilize prices across the majority of the Egyptian markets.
So, sir, the main factors affecting commodity stocks and prices are transportation and the shipping costs. So what are the most efficient means to manage these costs?
Well, one of the things is always the problem is not simply into two costs. I mean, transportation and what was the second one you said? You said transportation and what?
Yes, I'm talking about transportation and shipping costs.
Shipping. Well, I mean, as we can see, transportation and shipping is a major component of the cost of these goods. But at the same time, we have to understand that the market prices have been affected dramatically by other factors that affected the shipment and transportation. These are the prices of oil, definitely, and the closure of the Hormuz area, and that led to increase in the prices of oil that led definitely to an increase in shipment and transportation.
Yes.
There is one of two ways to handle this. The first is to handle it as a permanent increase, and hopefully this will not be the case. This is a temporary increase that increases due to the pressures that are currently there due to the tension between the U.S. and Iran. And if we handle it that way, hopefully we would be able to subsidize the shipping and prices of increases in transportation, including in that the increase in foreign currency that Egypt has been getting through the European Union, the World Bank, and the workers of Egyptians outside, which provides us with foreign currency that I think can help a little bit in subsidizing the major impact, the negative impact on shipping prices and so on. The other thing is trying to collectively weigh in the amounts that we order, which using economies of scale can lower the impact or the portion of the impact of transportation. So if I'm going to ship, for example, 100,000 tons, might be better to ship 500,000 tons, 1 million tons at a time. And that economies of scale or use of economies of scale would reduce the portion of transportation in the cost, in the total cost of the products. These are two simple ways to try and avoid this, I would say, temporary impact of transportation and shipment prices.
Yes, so Dr. Khaled, to what extent have the renewed tensions in the Middle East in recent days over the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and Houthi attacks near the Red Sea impact economic process in Egypt and worldwide?
First of all, this is not a regional impact, it's actually a worldwide impact.
Yes.
What happens, and this is something that we're seeing over and over again, is the linkages between what happens in a certain geographical area is affecting the world as a whole. Definitely, price of oil in Europe, in the US, has dramatically increased, affecting the simple car costs of transportation. In Egypt, they have pushed our shipping, insurance costs, also disrupted the international supply chains,
yes,
increasing transportation expenses, creating upward pressure on energy prices. For countries like Egypt, this tension would particularly affect maritime trade, Suez Canal revenues, which has been negatively affected for several years now. However, on the other side, Egypt is trying to still diversify an economic base and trying to reduce reliance on single source of foreign currency, which is the real core issue here, which if we are able to diversify our foreign currency resources, I think this can help us dramatically in allowing Egypt to keep receiving foreign currency that has been reduced, for example, from the Suez Canal, that have reduced its income for about 70% reduction. We can get this from other sources of foreign currency, and I'll have to say it's the name of the game for Egypt is export. Irrespective of what you consider, we need to export and export and export. We need to increase the base of what we export, increase the volume of what we already export. This is the only way out for the short term and also for the long term of Egypt's trade balance problems.
So also, Dr. Khaled, Egypt has faced temporary capital flow pressures and disruptions to international supply chain since the start of the conflict. So how do you assess the government measures to accelerate efforts to strengthen its export, as you've just mentioned, and the transit trade systems?
I think Egypt has really put a lot of effort, government, people, in understanding the requirements of export. We still have some bureaucratic red tape in the export and understanding the value of export. But I think we're doing better year after year. But this is not the end of the road, because we need to, as we mentioned before, maybe exports were about $150 billion before we start getting the balance that we want. What Egypt has explained, what the government has introduced, is that we need to produce and export for about $100 billion. But the problem is, the more you export, the more you need to import. Accordingly, I think we need to hit $150 billion of exports so that the net would be down to 100 billion exports. That would help jumpstart our budget from the side of the foreign currency.
So Egypt's annual urban headline inflation slowed to 12.2% in June from 13% in May, while monthly deadline inflation eased by 0.9% despite increase in the prices of some goods and services. So what's your take on this?
There is definitely the problem with cut of inflation, like you've said, is that for us economists, the numbers are decreasing. But the problem of inflation is cumulative. Today, and say I've reduced inflation today, actually this is happening over 7 years now. We're getting inflation after inflation after inflation. So even though the economists, the scientists on the governmental side sees this as a great improvement because you're lowering the percentage of inflation at this period, but the cumulative effect is still the same. The people have been suffering of inflation after inflation wave that even though the percentage increase has decreased, but still it is an increase. And the cumulative has put a lot of pressure on the Egyptian people, and that has unfortunately been affecting them negatively. But the point is we need to keep going into that as much as possible, and hopefully the Egyptian people will start feeling the impact that in.
So, sir, also if we talk about the government, it seeks expansion of the private sector's contribution in several vital economic sectors. How do you see the importance of this step?
Because the last one got cut in the translation.
Yes, I'm talking about the role of the private sector and the importance.
Okay.
Yes. Of
I am. Yani, you have to always check the background of every person you ask this question, because for capitalistic people like myself, the only way to growth and to get out of this permanently of all Egypt's problem is increase the private sector's involvement in the markets. It is very unfair for the government to be the regulator and at the same time a player in the market. Solution is always been the private sector.
Yes.
And the only way is to increase the involvement in the private sector, allowing it a free and a fair competition in the market. Because again and again, the governmental role as a regulator allows it a high or a markup better than the private sector when it comes to the market as a whole. A private sector is essential for achieving sustainable economic growth. I mean, we can have economic growth, but to be sustainable, I think private sector is essential. They create employment opportunities, which is not supposed to be. We're asking the government to reduce employment, and at the same time, we're asking the private sector to increase employment. So the way is the private sector, when it grows, it creates more employment opportunities, improves productivity, stimulates innovation, and enhances competitiveness, because that's the core of the private sector. Also, the government to increase private sector is important, because without the government understanding that its role is to step out of the market and to at the same time help private sector grow into the market is essential. Because we don't want to see friction between both sides, but we want private sector to grow, and we want the governmental sector to try and help the private sector in that growth. Empowering private business also will attract foreign direct investment, and at the same time accelerate transfers of technology, because you will be, the private sector usually tries and gets the top-notch technology, and that helps in efficiency and effectiveness process.
Yes, sir. So the World Bank also pledged to support Egypt in building a competitive digital economy and advancing artificial intelligence adoption, as officials reviewed the country's broadband expansion and the rollout of its second national AI strategy. How do you see the importance of digital economy?
I think it's not idea's importance. It's a must. We can't anymore live without that. Technology is going to be the front of everything. Technology is the stewardship that will take countries either up or down. This is the new name of the game. In the past, we had agricultural revolution, then we had the industrial revolution where the machines were at top. Now we're at transformation. The new revolution is the revolution of information and AI and technology in general. If you ride the wave and you go up, or you go down and you die. There is no in-betweens at this point. So I think it's not a luxury anymore. Unfortunately, it sometimes requires some seed money that you need to invest in infrastructure, speed of internet, speed of the different technological equipment. But that in its time will get the future benefit for the Egyptian economy. You cannot anymore depend on the classical solutions that depended on the workforce power or the machine's power, but you need now more and more technological advancement at the tip of everything. And this is not for any discipline, but all disciplines together. I mean, if you're talking about accounting, you need the top notch in accounting. If you are talking mining, you need the same top notch in mining, and same in minerals. You go across all industries. It really is not a choice anymore. We don't have the luxury whether we want or we don't want that.
Yes.
It's either we succeed or we fail. This is the only two options at this point in that specific category.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Khaled Tahawy, Professor of Accounting. Thank you for being with us, and a short break, and we'll be back, so stay tuned.